My phone buzzes with Mom's custom ringtone, an old Italian ballad she used to sing while kneading bread on Saturday mornings. I swipe the answer button, laptop still balanced across my knees as I sink deeper into my home office chair. "Lena, darling, are you busy?" Mom's voice floats through the speaker, warm and lilting, the tone she always uses when she has news. "Just finishing a client pitch deck," I murmur, minimizing the spreadsheet where I've been projecting cash flow for a logistics startup. "What's up?" Her pause stretches, then comes the reveal. "Your sister just bought that charming colonial in Brookhaven Gardens. You know, the one with the arched windows and the cherry trees lining the street?" The cursor blinks on my screen. My fingers stall above the keyboard. Mara bought a house in Brookhaven Gardens? The gated neighborhood where listings start at $625,000? The same neighborhood where I lost out in a bidding war last winter? "Yes," Mom continues, delight dripping through the line. "They're closing next week. Your father and I are over the moon." That's fast," I manage. "Last I heard she said the market was impossible." "Oh, we helped her out." Mom's voice rises, airy, almost proud. "We gave her $92,000 for the down payment. Nothing makes us happier than seeing our kids secure." My stomach dips. $92,000. I grip the desk edge with my free hand. "That's really generous." "Well, you've always been the strong one, sweetheart. So independent. We figured you didn't need help." Independent. The family code word for, we don't have to worry about you. Before I can reply, my phone buzzes with a notification from my bank. Alert. Attempted login to dormant joint account ending in 7842. The joint account I closed last month. The one I had originally opened years ago to help Dad cover his hospital bills when he lost insurance. "Mom, I need to go," I blurt, pulse spiking. "Always rushing," she laughs. "Will we see you for Sunday dinner?" Her words dissolve as memories crowd in. Last month's family lunch, Dad toasting Mara's promotion at her boutique, while my own consulting firm's contracts, the ones that quietly kept their mortgage afloat last year, went unmentioned. "Lena, still there?" "Sorry, Mom, I've got to go." I hang up before she hears the tremor in my voice. I stab in my attorney's number from memory. "This is Lena Carson. Is Alex Rivera available? It's urgent." 2 minutes later, Alex's even voice fills my ear. "Lena, talk to me. What happened?" "My parents just tried to access that old joint account we closed last month. Bank flagged the attempt." I breathe out, forcing the word steady. "And they just gave my sister $92,000 to buy a colonial in Brookhaven Gardens, right before trying to pull money from me." There's a pause. The faint scratch of a pen on paper. "I see. And how do you want to respond?" I flip open my laptop, create a new spreadsheet. The header types itself beneath my fingers. Family ledger. Row 1, $92,000 gifted to Mara. Row 2, $0 gifted to Lena. "Lena," Alex's voice presses through. "I'm here," I answer flatly. My gaze falls on the silver frame perched on my desk. Last Christmas's family photo. Everyone grinning in coordinated scarves. My arm draped around Mom's shoulder. I open the drawer and lay the frame face down inside. I'm just getting started. Sunday arrives with forced smiles and clinking glasses at dinner. Afternoon light streams through the wide kitchen windows as I crouch to snap a group photo on Mom's phone. Dad and Mara beam beside her fiancé, glasses raised, their laughter timed perfectly with the shutter click. "Perfect," I say, handing the phone back. A notification banner slides across the top. Without meaning to, my finger taps it. Carson Family Chat. No Lena. For 3 years, they've texted in a thread I was never added to. My eyes fly across the backlog. Dad, closing soon on the Brookhaven Colonial. Finally beat those out-of-state buyers. Mara, that family who outbid us last year moved to Denver. Karma. My family calling my loss karma? Mom, remember to check Lena's old account before she notices. Mara, She'll be too busy consulting to care. The words congeal like ice in my chest. Lena, all done with the pictures? Mom chirps beside me. I return her phone, my face arranged into calm. Great shots. Sliding back into my chair, I watch them, huddled close, voices overlapping, while I sit at the far end, the outsider at my own family's table. Mara launches into renovation plans. I think we'll redo the kitchen right away, granite counters, custom cabinets. About $24,000, but worth it. How are you covering that? I ask evenly. Your shop barely turned profit last quarter. Forks pause. Mom stiffens. Why do you always sound so critical? She scolds. It's not ladylike. Dad adds sharply. Money talk like that makes men uncomfortable, Lena. Mara smirks, cutting into her steak. Classic Lena, counting every penny. I sip water, calculations racing in my head. The same family who dismissed my work as just consulting now ridicules me for noticing their math. That's when my phone buzzes again. An unknown number. A single text lights up the screen. We need to talk about Arizona. Cousin Mark. Mark, the black sheep who vanished 5 years ago after clashing with Dad over Grandpa's estate. Before I can respond, another message pings. This time from Alex. Found forged paperwork on property. Sale. Call me tonight. I steady my glass on the tablecloth. The laughter around me continues, oblivious. Inside, something shifts. The line they've crossed for years has finally snapped. And I am no longer just keeping score. The morning after that dinner, sunlight streams through my blinds like nothing's wrong. But my body knows better. I wake with the dull ache of a hangover, though I didn't drink. Betrayal leaves its own residue. By 8 a.m., I'm in my office, coffee cooling beside my laptop. My inbox is full, but my eyes keep straying to the new folder I labeled last night, Family Ledger. Row 3 now reads, Attempted access to closed joint account, flagged by bank. Row 4, Group chat excluding Lena, discussing karma. It feels surreal to document my family like they're hostile clients, but part of me finds a cold satisfaction in the neat columns and totals. Facts don't lie. My phone vibrates. Alex. Morning, he says. I pulled initial records after your text. You were right. There's activity around your old accounts. Also, there are signatures connected to your name that don't align with samples we have on file. My chest tightens. Meaning forged? Meaning suspicious, Alex corrects gently. I want you to bring everything you have. Bank alerts, screenshots, any receipts. We'll build from there. I open a desk drawer and remove a velvet box. Inside rests the gold bracelet I bought Mom last Mother's Day. $640 I couldn't spare at the time. I find the store receipt folded beneath. At the bottom, a note. Returned. Store credit issued to Mara Carson. I set it on the desk, a new row forming in my mind. That evening, I meet Mark at a corner cafe near the river. He's older now, beard shot with gray, but his eyes burn with the same intensity I remember from Grandpa's funeral. They've been running this game for years, he says without preamble. I only found out because I questioned why Aunt Iris was signing estate documents instead of the official executor. I sip bitter coffee, waiting. He continues. They shut me out, said I was paranoid, unstable, but I've been collecting records ever since. He slides a manila folder across the table. Inside, photocopies of deeds, sale records, wire transfers. According to these, properties with your name on the title were sold without your consent. At least $45,000 of your inheritance never reached you. My throat tightens, but my voice stays calm. And you? He says flatly, about $52,000. Different property, same scheme. He leans closer. They're siphoning resources from the family members they label independent, because we're the least likely to fight back. The truth clangs in my ears like a bell. Later that night, my phone rings. At midnight. Mara. I stare at the screen, considering. Against my better judgment, I swipe. Melina! Thank God! Her voice trembles. The home inspection flagged foundation issues, cracks, water damage. We need $22,000 to remediate before closing. Can you cover it? Just a loan, 60 days. I grip the counter, forcing evenness into my tone. What did the bank say? They won't adjust this late. Mom and Dad said you'd help. You've got that big logistics contract, right? Of course they did. I can't help you, Mara.
Her silence stretches. Then, sharp. Can't or won't. This is family, Lena. Family supports each other. Yes, I say, voice steel. And family doesn't forge signatures. The line goes dead. I block her number. By morning, 3 voicemails from Mom wait. Each one more wounded than the last. Honestly, Lena, I don't understand why you're so selfish when your sister needs help. If you keep this up, don't expect to be invited to Christmas. Family supports family. That's how we raised you. I delete them without listening to the endings. At my office downtown, my assistant Daniel meets me at the elevator with a worried expression and a latte in hand. Your 10 o'clock canceled, but your parents are in the conference room? They said it's urgent. Perfect. I square my shoulders, coffee warming my palm like armor. Tell them they've got 15 minutes. Inside, Mom rises immediately, arms outstretched, perfume thick in the air. Dad sits stiffly at the far end, scanning the space like he's calculating its rent. Darling, you've ignored our calls. Mom begins, voice quivering. I'm preparing for client meetings, I reply coolly. What's urgent? Dad clears his throat. It's about Mara's house, the foundation problem. I'm aware. She called at midnight. Mom's hands clasp mine before I can pull away. We've already done so much for her with the down payment. If you could handle this small repair. Small? My laugh is short, sharp. $22,000 is small? Don't take that tone, Dad snaps. Your independence is admirable, Lena, but it's making you forget what family means. I glance at the clock on the wall. My clients are in the lobby. You have 5 minutes left. The mask slips from Mom's face, revealing steel beneath. If you walk away from this, don't expect us to walk back into your life. I stand, folder in hand. Maybe that's the first honest thing you've said to me in years. We met again where privacy still existed. Dim cafes with chipped mugs, corner tables in libraries, quiet booths at restaurants no one from Brookhaven Gardens would ever step into. Neutral spaces felt safer, as if anonymity itself was a shield. Mark spread papers across the scarred cafe table, his handwriting scrawled across margins. Look here, he said, jabbing at a photocopy. This deed shows the Arizona cabin sold in 2019, but the executor never filed your signature. That squiggle, he tapped it, a forgery. I had a handwriting analyst confirm. I stared at the page, bile rising. That cabin had been in Grandpa's will, split between Mark and me. I had assumed the market crash had delayed its sale. Instead, someone else had cashed out. How much? I asked, voice steady. Your half? Around $47,800. Mine? Nearly $51,000. Gone. My pen scratched across my notebook, adding rows beneath the family ledger. Row 5, $47,800 inheritance stolen. Row 6, $51,000 siphoned from Mark. I closed the book with a snap. They're not sloppy. They're organized. Mark leaned back, bitterness in his laugh. They target the ones who won't scream. You, me.
anyone branded independent, and they tell the rest of the family we're unstable. That night, I called Alex. He listened in silence as I recounted Mark's findings. You're dealing with a pattern, not isolated mistakes, sustained exploitation, which means you need more than spreadsheets. You need a paper trail strong enough to survive in court. He outlined what to collect: notarized deeds, bank alerts, screenshots, recordings. Every anomaly becomes evidence. Once we hit 5 or 6 solid examples, the narrative is undeniable. I hung up and went straight to my desk. Receipts, contracts, texts. I piled them into color-coded folders. I found last year's holiday receipt, a designer jacket I'd bought Dad for $720, hoping he'd wear it to winter church. Attached was a return slip, store credit issued to Mara Carson 2 days later. Another row for the ledger, another crack in the facade. The following Sunday, Mom insisted on another family gathering. Against my better judgment, I went, determined this time not to be blindsided. Dinner stretched long and syrupy, with Mara and her fiancé basking in attention, as though the world revolved around their new house. My parents clapped along, smiling like proud benefactors. Halfway through dessert, Mara leaned forward, her tone casual. So, Lena, any new projects, or still playing with those little contracts? I forked through pie crust, keeping my expression neutral. The contracts that covered your credit card minimum last year? The air thickened. Dad's glass hit the table harder than necessary. Enough. Mom forced a brittle laugh. Lena's just teasing. But Mara's face flushed. You always think you're better. You sit there with your spreadsheets, counting everything. Maybe if you weren't so cold, you'd have a husband by now.
I folded my napkin with deliberate care. Maybe if you weren't so reckless, you wouldn't need everyone else to pay for your mistakes. For a beat, silence reigned. Then Mom's voice cut, sharp and trembling. If you keep talking like this, you'll lose your place in this family. I smiled thinly. Maybe that's the best offer I've had all night. Back at my apartment, I found Daniel waiting in the lobby with a file tucked under his arm. Sorry to barge in after hours, he said, handing me the folder, but this came through courier. Your cousin Mark asked me to get it to you directly. Inside were notarized affidavits, property sale ledgers, and, most damning, a copy of Grandma's will, highlighting a separate account earmarked for me, a sum of $38,000, money that arrived arrived. Tucked at the back was a sticky note in Mark's scrawl. They've been bleeding us for a decade. It's time to end it. I stared at the note until the words blurred. Then I opened my laptop and typed a new header across my family ledger. Exhibit A, Exploitation Trail. The next morning, Alex called again. His tone was firm, clipped. Lena, this isn't just about family taking advantage. This is fraud, forgery, potential identity theft. If you want to move forward, we'll need to escalate legally. But be warned, once we do, there's no going back. I looked at the folders spread across my desk, the weight of every receipt and forged signature pressing down. I've already gone too far back to pretend nothing's happening, I said quietly. File it, under active. Monday morning, the city hums outside my office window. Traffic, horns, people hurrying to lives that don't include betrayal spreadsheets or forged signatures. But my mind is far from ordinary. On my desk lies a stack of evidence that has shifted from family drama to criminal portfolio. Daniel, efficient as ever, has organized each file with color-coded tabs, deeds, bank alerts, forged documents. At the top sits the ledger I began that night Mom bragged about Mara's house. The columns are no longer neat rows of petty imbalances.
They are proof of theft. Alex enters the conference room at 9 sharp, a legal pad tucked under his arm. His tone is calm but serious. I've reviewed everything. This isn't just exploitation. It's systemic fraud. We have enough to take it to the district attorney. The only question is timing. Timing? I ask, though I already know what he means. Once you go public, police reports, subpoenas, it's war. No brunches, no olive branches. They will deny, they will smear you. You need to be ready. I breathe out, feeling the weight of every receipt, every late-night call from Mara asking for just a little help. I'm ready. That evening, I receive the first volley. Mom shows up at my apartment unannounced, her perfume preceding her like a warning bell. She clutches a casserole dish, the old peace offering. "Darling," she says, setting it on my counter as if this were still the 1990s and I were still her compliant daughter. "We just need to understand why you're doing this. Mara is drowning with the renovations. We thought you, of all people, would step in." I fold my arms. Step in? Like I did when I covered Dad's hospital bills, or when I paid the taxes last spring while you gave Mara $92,000? Her eyes flash, but her voice stays syrupy. "You've always been independent, strong. We thought you didn't need us." I point to the casserole. Strength doesn't mean unlimited resources, and independence doesn't mean open season. For the first time, Mom falters. Her face hardens. "If you keep this up, Lena, don't expect to be part of this family anymore." "Then maybe I've been out of it for longer than I realized," I reply quietly. She leaves without the casserole. I drop it straight into the trash. 2 nights later, my phone rings at 11:45 p.m. Mara again. Against instinct, I let it go to voicemail. Her voice plays shrill and panicked. "You're ruining everything. Do you understand what you're doing? If this comes out, Dad could lose his reputation, Mom could lose friends, and The message cuts off mid-sob. A second voicemail follows, venomous. "You think you're better than me. You're nothing without us. Remember that." I block her number again.
The next day, Daniel brings another envelope, delivered by hand from Mark. Inside are copies of wire transfers from my account to a joint account in Mara's name, amounts ranging from $2,500 to $6,200 over 6 years. The signature authorizing them is mine, except it isn't. I call Alex immediately. Forgery, he confirms after examining the scans. Repeated and deliberate. With this much, they can't claim it's misunderstanding. It's intent. My chest tightens, but it's not fear this time. It's clarity. So we move forward. Alex exhales. "We'll draft the complaints. But Lena, once this begins, you can't half fight. They will push back. Hard." "I don't half fight anymore," I tell him. Friday evening, Daniel helps me prepare my home office for the inevitable showdown. He arranges water glasses with meticulous precision, lines up notepads, and checks the projector. "Feels like we're about to host a client pitch," he says dryly. "In a way, we are, except the product is the truth, and the clients are my family." Daniel pauses, then nods. "Then let's make it impossible for them to walk away without buying it." That night, I unlock my bottom desk drawer. Inside rests the binder I began weeks ago, thick, leather-bound, labeled in my handwriting, Family Ledger Audit. I run my hand across the cover, feeling the weight of 15 years of records inside. This isn't just about money anymore. It's about every time they told me independence meant I didn't need support, while quietly bleeding me dry. I close the binder with a snap. Tomorrow, they'll see it all, and there will be no pretending left. Saturday morning dawns crisp and bright, the kind of autumn day when the air feels sharp enough to cut. My living room has been transformed into a makeshift conference space. The oak table gleams under the light, chairs neatly aligned. Daniel hovers by the sideboard, double-checking the projector connections. His efficiency calms me. He doesn't flinch under pressure. And today, I need that steadiness. By 9:30, Alex arrives, a briefcase in hand, and his expression unreadable. They'll try denial first, he warns as he sets up beside me. Then guilt, then anger. Hold steady. I'm done bending, I answer. At 10 sharp, the doorbell rings. I open it to find my parents flanking Mara. Mom wears her best pearls. Dad, his old blazer he reserves for serious occasions. Mara clutches her handbag like a shield. For a moment, the three of them look like a unit, polished and confident, the family I thought I belonged to. I step aside. Come in. They file into the room. No small talk, no smiles, just wary eyes scanning the setup, folders, notepads, glasses of water. This seems excessive for a family conversation, Mom says, her voice tight. This isn't a conversation. It's an accounting. We sit. Alex opens the first folder and slides copies across the table. These are bank transfers from Lena's account into Mara's, spanning 6 years, amounts totaling $91,000, signatures forged. Dad frowns. That's impossible. Lena must be mistaken. Alex clicks the remote. The projector screen lights up with handwriting comparisons, my real signature beside the forged ones. The differences are obvious. Forgery is a felony, and repeated instances establish intent. Mara shifts in her seat, her face pale. I cut her off, my voice steady. You called me last year begging for help with tuition loans, remember? The same week, $6,000 vanished from my account. Don't insult me with denials. Alex moves to the next set. Here are text messages, obtained legally, discussing attempts to access Lena's accounts. They predate the $92,000 gift you gave Mara for the house. The texts appear on the screen. Mom's words in glowing blue bubbles. Check Lena's old joint account before she notices. Dad's reply. She never checks. She's too busy consulting. Mom's pearls clink as her hand trembles. That was a joke, she whispers. Forgery and theft aren't jokes, I say coldly. Daniel brings forward another binder, property deeds. Mark's evidence of the Florida sale sits on top. This shows you sold Grandma's timeshare without notifying me or Mark. The signatures are fabricated. Dad exhales slowly, as if deflating. Mara's nails scrape against her handbag, leaving tiny marks on the leather. This isn't just favoritism, I continue, standing now. This is fraud, identity theft, years of draining me while praising me for being independent. Mara slammed her palm on the table. You've always thought you were better than us. You hoard your money. You lord it over everyone. Enough, Alex cuts in, his voice sharp. Projection won't erase evidence. What matters is how you respond to the choices in front of you. He lays 2 envelopes in the center of the table. Option 1, a repayment plan, legally binding, spread over 5 years. Option 2, criminal complaints for fraud, forgery, and identity theft. We have enough to pursue charges immediately. The silence that follows is heavy, suffocating.
Mom breaks first, her voice cracking. We only wanted to help Mara get a start. You were already established. It didn't seem fair. Fair? My laugh is bitter. You call stealing my inheritance and forging my name fair? Dad looks down, his hands clasped tightly. We thought we could balance it later. In the will. In the will? My voice slices through the air. So I was supposed to wait for scraps while you drained me alive? The room fractures. Mara paces, muttering under her breath. Mom dabs at her eyes with tissues. Dad sits frozen. Finally, Mom whispers, "What do you want from us?" I look at each of them, my voice calm and resolute. Accountability, repayment, respect,
and the end of your illusion that my independence means I'm your personal bank. Alex taps the repayment envelope. This is your last chance. For a long, tense minute, no one moves. Then Dad reaches forward, picks up the pen, and signs. Mom follows, her tears smudging the ink. Mara hesitates longest, glaring at me with venom, before finally scrawling her name. The sound of the pen's scratching against paper feels like victory. When it's done, Alex collects the signed documents, sliding them into his briefcase. Mara storms out without another word. Mom lingers at the doorway, her voice low. You'll regret this, Lena. Families don't survive this kind of betrayal. I meet her gaze steadily. Families don't survive this kind of theft. The door closes behind them, leaving silence. Daniel lets out a breath. They folded. For now, I answer, but my voice is firm. The balance of power has shifted, and it's not shifting back.
The house feels cavernous after they leave, the silence vibrating like an aftershock. Daniel clears the water glasses and straightens the chairs, his movements deliberate, almost ceremonial. They signed, he says quietly, as if repeating it will anchor the truth. I nod, still standing by the window, my reflection fractured in the glass. They signed, I echo. The words don't taste like triumph, but like release. That evening, Alex calls. His voice is measured, practical. We'll file the repayment agreement with the court first thing Monday. That way, if they miss even a single payment, we move directly to enforcement. I thank him, but my mind drifts as he speaks. I picture Dad's face when he bent over the papers, resignation pulling his shoulders down. I picture Mom clutching her pearls as though they could shield her from evidence, and Mara's glare, the kind that promised this wasn't over. Maybe it isn't, but for once, the terms are mine. 2 weeks later, the ripple effects surface. Mara's house is suddenly listed as a motivated sale, the price slashed by nearly $30,000. The copper shingles she'd bragged about remain unfinished, the construction crew gone. Mom and Dad sell their lake boat and the Cadillac they once paraded at summer barbecues. A cousin mentions in passing that they're downsizing to a senior apartment. Meanwhile, envelopes arrive at my office, each with a check inside. The first for $3,800, then $4,200, then $5,000. Tiny installments against a mountain of debt, but proof all the same. I place them carefully in a folder labeled restitution, not as trophies, but as evidence that the tide has turned.
One afternoon, Mark meets me at a downtown cafe. He's dressed more casually than I've ever seen him, sleeves rolled up, a stack of fresh documents under his arm. They've been doing this for longer than we thought, he says without preamble. Other cousins, old business partners, they used the same playbook. He slides a page across the table. And the Florida property? They didn't just forge signatures, they pocketed nearly $50,000 from the sale. I stir my coffee, the spoon clinking softly against the porcelain. How much of that can we recover? Mark leans back, eyes steady. Enough. But the bigger victory is that they'll never be able to do it again, not with everything we've put on record. For the first time in years, I feel something close to peace. Rebecca stops by my apartment that Friday evening carrying a small houseplant wrapped in burlap. For your new beginning, he says, placing it on the windowsill. The apartment feels different now. Not a fortress against my family, but a sanctuary I've chosen. I pour us glasses of wine and we toast under the glow of the city lights. To freedom, Rebecca says. To boundaries with teeth, I add, and we laugh. When the weekend comes, I drive out to Maple Ridge, the neighborhood where Mara had gloated about her Tudor home. The leaves blaze red and gold along the streets. At the end of the cul-de-sac, a for sale sign swings in the breeze outside the very house I lost a year ago.
The agent meets me at the door, paperwork in hand. She says the sellers are desperate. You'd be in a strong position. I walk through the room slowly, touching the banister, the smooth oak cabinets. The space is empty, waiting. This time, I tell her, I'll make an all-cash offer. No loans, no contingencies. Her smile widens. Then it's yours. When I sign the contract later that afternoon, the pen glides easily across the page as though erasing years of imbalance. On moving day, sunlight filters through tall windows as I set a single framed photo on the mantel. Not of family, but of the ledger I closed with bold letters across the bottom. Account settled. That night, Mark, Alex, and Rebecca join me in the new living room. We eat takeout pizza on the hardwood floor, champagne chilling in a bucket beside us. To chosen family, Rebecca says, raising his glass. To justice, Alex adds. To rebuilding, Mark offers, eyes warm. I look at them, these unlikely allies who stood firm when blood turned against me. To freedom, I finish, the word ringing like a promise. Later, when the house is quiet again, I stand on the porch, keys cool in my palm, and breathe in the crisp night air. My phone buzzes in my pocket, Mom's name on the screen, the old country song ringtone. For a moment, I hesitate. Then I silence it and slide the phone into my pocket. This chapter is over.
The house settles around me like it was always waiting for me. The creak of old floorboards, the faint scent of cedar from the attic, the hum of radiators kicking in at dawn. It's all mine. Paid in full. No liens, no strings, no family signatures hanging over me like threats. Every morning I walk through the quiet rooms with coffee in hand, sunlight streaming through the tall bay windows. Each beam of light feels like reclamation, washing away years of invisible theft. The first restitution check arrives 3 weeks after the confrontation. $3,750, neatly typed on my parents' joint account. The memo line reads simply, repayment. No note, no apology. I slip it into the restitution folder without hesitation. More follow in the weeks after. $4,100, $5,300, tiny drops against the ocean they owe, but evidence of a tide turning. At night, I sometimes imagine them sitting at the kitchen table, calculating what they can sell next. The Cadillac already gone, the boat a memory, Mara listing her house at a loss, her copper shingle dreams collapsing. Do I feel sorry? Maybe once I would have. Now I only feel distance. Mark comes by often. He carries more document each time, proof of their schemes against others. They had a system, he says, shaking his head. Always targeting the one who seems strong enough to carry it, until you carried it too far. We laugh sometimes, a bitter but freeing laugh. Because the truth is, exposing them didn't just save me, it freed him too. Rebecca, steady as ever, thrives in the new office we've built together. He jokes that organizing my family's downfall was the best project management training of his career. I tell him it was just another client presentation, except the product was justice. On Fridays, we close early and sit on the back deck of my new house, feet up on the railing, wine glasses in hand. You built this, he reminds me, nodding toward the lake glittering beyond the maple trees. Not them, not their handouts, you. And for once, I believe it. Alex remains pragmatic, guiding each step with precision. They'll test boundaries again, he warns. They always do. But you've set precedent. And precedent is powerful. He's right. Power isn't loud. It's the quiet certainty that you will never be cornered again. One evening, a cream-colored envelope arrives. The handwriting is unmistakable. Mom's cursive, looping and graceful. Inside is a note on her monogram stationery. "We're sorry." 2 words. No excuses, no lengthy justification, just an acknowledgement I never thought I would see. Tucked inside is another check, slightly heavier than the rest, $6,500 this time. I place both in the restitution folder, then close it firmly. Forgiveness doesn't live in the numbers. It lives in the choice to move forward, and I've already made mine. The real transformation, though, comes quietly. In the mornings when I jog along the lakeshore unburdened, in the afternoons when I sign new client contracts without the shadow of someone siphoning in the background, in the evenings when laughter with Mark, Rebecca, and Alex fills my kitchen, replacing the silence that used to feel like exile. This isn't independence as they defined it, loneliness disguised as strength. This is independence as I define it. Freedom with chosen connection, boundaries with teeth. Sometimes the phone still buzzes with Mom's old ringtone, the country song she hummed while stirring Sunday gravy. I let it ring. I no longer need her voice to validate my worth. Other times, Mara's number flashes across the screen. I picture her in some smaller house, bitterness clinging like ivy. I delete the calls without a flicker of guilt. The family I lost was an illusion. The one I've built is real. Tonight I sit on the dock, feet skimming the cool water, stars scattering across the surface like diamonds. A glass of champagne rests beside me. My ledger lies closed upstairs, account settled stamped across the last page. I don't need to open it again. I breathe in the night air, crisp and unburdened, and ask myself the question I once feared. If your family used your strength as an excuse to take everything from you, would you have the courage to show them what independence really looks like? And if you started keeping your own ledger today, what would your family audit reveal?